Okay, tonight we got a fabulous guest. We got Cheryl Knight-Wilson, and she's the owner and publisher of a fantastic magazine called Paranormal Underground Magazine. And she also too does a lot of the editing for this magazine. She's also too a podcaster, a Mindful Mystics, with two fabulous co-hosts, Karen Frazier and Chucky G. And Cheryl, I know you've had a lot of personal experiences. What is it that made you gravitate towards the paranormal? What is it about the paranormal that you embrace?
Well, thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to talk with you all. I guess I'd start by saying I was drawn to the paranormal as a child when I first started having paranormal experiences myself. And so, when you're young and things happen that aren't supposed to happen, you kind of try and rationalize it, right? And you try and explain it away. Maybe it's your imagination, maybe you were dreaming, these various excuses. But they just keep happening. And so at some point you have to admit that there's more going on than your imagination. So for me it was personal experiences, and then I started reading books about it, watching shows about it, just getting a little more invested into learning what could it be, what could be causing it. And that still I don't know today. So it's been a long time. So
Oh my gosh. And how did you get involved with the magazine? How did that all start up?
yeah, oh my gosh. Okay, so fast forward many years, and I think it was in about 2006. I started watching a show. I think it was around there, called Ghost Hunters. You may have heard of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I started watching that, and I really liked it. I kind of connected with it. They were a fun team. It was engaging, and so I went and joined a forum that on sci-fi.com. I think it was called something else, but or changed names since then. But and so just was going there to look and see when they were going to come back, because they had a long hiatus. And I was like, is this show coming back? Is it not coming back? And so I went and joined this forum, and met a lot of like-minded people on the forum. And we started a magazine together, a few of us. And my background was in publishing. And so it was kind of a natural fit. And we just wanted to kind of do more together. And so a group of us became friends and formed this magazine. And my husband, Chad, and I, who wasn't my husband at the time, but we met on this forum, funnily enough, and the rest is history. And so we started the magazine in about, I want to say, mid 2008. So I think it was about June 2008. And we've been publishing almost monthly ever since. I think we had a year where we did 6 that year. But the whole goal was to share experiences with other people who wanted to read about it and share their own experiences. Because we felt like there wasn't a lot of material out there at the time, and we thought that we might be able to contribute to it. So I think it was about.
And who are some of the notables that you've had on your front cover or interviewed? I mean, I've seen like Josh Gates on your cover and everything else. Who are some of the other notables that you've interviewed?
I mean, there are so many, and yes, you would recognize Josh Gates, and that, I'll be honest, I wanted to talk to him, like this, like we're talking now, but he's a busy fellow. So we did an email interview, and so that's how we ended up on the front cover. You've heard of Zach Bagans, I assume. He's
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the magazine.
yeah, yeah. I've actually worked with them.
Okay, you know, yeah, you
Yeah.
might have heard of him. And there's so many local paranormal investigators who have started teams or to do solo investigation that we've had on, and there's just so many great people who have contributed. But there's just been so many that we're just honored that anybody even wants to contribute their information. Like, I know everybody's busy, they have things that they have daily lives, and then they're doing A lot of them are doing paranormal investigation on the side when they can fit it in. And so we just, are honored. And, full disclosure, Paul, you write monthly for the magazine. So
I love doing it. I
love
love doing it. Yes.
I love our contributors just the same. So we wouldn't have been able to do this without this collaboration between the paranormal community, people like you, even the people that do their TV shows contribute that way, the local investigators, and the people who have experiences who write in and want to share that as well.
Oh, fantastic. And now you've had some paranormal experiences. Can you tell us about a couple of them?
Yeah, sure. Where do I start?
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess just to start at the beginning, so when I was younger, and I don't even remember what age, I mean, 8, 10, somewhere around there. I guess that's what I remember being my first experience. And it was seeing not full body, let's just start with part bodied apparitions in old like 1800s clothing, but they didn't have appendages, so no heads, no arms, and no legs. And
Wow.
sure, standing at each like exit point, so it was quite scary.
So just like
It was
like suits, dresses.
Dresses, yes, exactly. Like you would picture a man in a nice 1800s suit, and then a woman in the dress, in the full dress. Yeah.
Was this in just one location? Was this in a house that you lived in?
It was in a house that I was visiting.
So I think it was about
Yeah, and it was in the middle of the night. Yes.
Sleepover.
Yes. Right. So that's the first one. And then it just kind of grew from there. And I eventually lived in a house that was quite haunted. And I mean, it seemed to have quite a bit of poltergeist activity. At least that's what I think it was. We can never tell, but lights going on and off, TVs flickering. Yes, you could think electrical. It wasn't. Knocks, footsteps, nobody there, rocking chairs,
Yeah.
that you can't explain, but is there. Usually it happens when I was alone at home, but not always. Other people were also there. Other people also saw things, apparitions in the house and that kind of thing. So sometimes it was you just get used to it, and other times it's quite scary. So that happened. And then if you want to jump a little bit forward, I occasionally do paranormal investigations with my family and friends, and surprising is to me that I actually saw something, because I like to say that I repel spirits on an investigation, but I don't think that's true. For instance, we've investigated at Waverly Hills a few times.
Oh, you have? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
free
Okay.
nights. And sometimes it's been pretty active, sometimes it's been pretty quiet. And the last time we were there, it was, oh gosh, when was it? A few years ago. I actually saw a shadow person.
Whoa.
And it was like, you see it, and we were on a tour. It was at the beginning of the night. We were on the tour with a tour guide. And so we're just walking around. He's telling us about the different places. And I look over and I see this shadow go like this around the doorway, around the corner of the doorway.
Well, that's creepy. Yeah.
Just see that? And I know what I saw, but you like, wait a minute, what? Well, almost the same thing happened at Bobby and Mackey's Music World. So we've been there a couple times as well.
Whoa, you've been some cool places.
Yeah, it was really cool. I hear that, did they tear it down recently, or they moved it or something?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, I think they're renovating it or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty active. We've got some crazy EVPs from the cellar there. And then so this one time we were there, nothing big happened that we could tell in the moment. We were packing up, getting ready to go. And I look up and I turn around, and this shadow person looked around this pole that's by the bar, and just like that in the back. Everybody else was over here getting ready to leave, off the side of the bar. So it's stuff like that that's happened, that it's hard to express it to other people, right? Because when you have an experience like that, you're like, okay, am I going to sound a little nuts here if I tell them about this? But then it's like, how are we going to share that information if we don't tell, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Cheryl, when we were talking backstage, or like I was saying, I go to a lot of investigations, and sometimes nothing happens.
Yeah.
But I know the paranormal exists because I've seen things actually happen. I've been on something like 2,500 investigations, and I've seen only 4 full body apparitions. So it's very rare. So when something like that happens, I'm always craving for the next investigation that something will happen. And a lot of times I'm really disappointed. It's like, oh my God, stayed here almost the whole night and nothing happened. So when I watch these TV shows and I see something happening every single time, I'm saying, that's not real. It's like reality TV is not really real. But
Yeah.
but you've got some interesting people uh, in your magazine, but also too, you're a podcaster for Mindful Mystics. Can you tell us about your co-host?
Yeah, I would love to. We started actually the first podcast we had was called Paranormal Underground Radio. And I think we started that back in, oh boy, 2009, I believe it was. And so it's evolved over the years. I think we did a little over 300 episodes, and then we needed a break after so many years. I think it was 8 years or something. And we were doing it almost weekly. So we took a little hiatus, and then we decided to come back, and we called ourselves Intention is Everything. And then we took a little more metaphysical stance as far as our topics, but we still covered paranormal. A bunch of us got busy. We took another hiatus, and then we came back again because we just can't stop. And we did Mindful Mystics. And my wonderful co-hosts are Karen Fraser. She is I have to talk a little bit about them because they're wonderful people. I love them. They're dear friends now. She is a author. She is a psychic medium, and she has done many years of paranormal investigation. She has written a lot about metaphysical topics. She's written a lot about crystal work, about other types of Reiki and things like that. The other host is Chucky G. And we basically met Chuck. He was an investigator, and he had a group called In the Dark Investigations. And so I get a lot of people emailing and stuff, and I love it because I would never meet these people otherwise. But they email and they're like, "Oh, are you interested in having some, having me do a profile on me for the magazine and whatnot?" So that's how we met Chucky G. And so he started writing for the magazine. He started co-hosting the podcast and then full-time hosting with us. And he's just thankfully joined us over the years and is still with us. And he is a psychic medium, and he is a paranormal investigator. And he also does readings for his clients, as does Karen. And so we try and do this podcast monthly. I wish we could do it more often, but we can't unfortunately at this point. But we cover all sorts of different topics. We just did a podcast on shadow work. We do crystal, different types of what crystals mean, how can you use them, that kind of thing. And we thankfully still do paranormal topics, which I love. And we will also be bringing back Paranormal Underground Radio next month and doing one of those a month too. So we're integrating that one back in as well and just focusing solely on paranormal. And we're going to have the first guest back, Paul, who I'm sure you know is Brian Allen.
Oh,
from Phenomena Magazine.
Yes, Brian.
Yeah. So we're really excited. Yeah. And we just love doing these things as you all do here, obviously, and just talking to people, getting information out, and it's a lot of fun.
And I know that your magazine covers everything. I mean, you got ghosts, you got demons, you got cryptids, you got UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. What do you think about this UFO phenomenon? What do you think these UFOs are? Are they interdimensional? Are they from extraterrestrial? What do you think they are?
I love that question. It's like, how long do you have? You have a lot of time here. I don't know. I think it's all of the above, right? I mean, I really believe anything's possible. And lately, I've been on this thing where I keep wondering, okay, UFOs and their occupants, UIPs, could they be AI? Could they be humans from the future coming back for some reason? I've kind of been on that a little bit lately. But I do think that that we've been watching a lot of Ancient Aliens again.
Yeah, I love Ancient Aliens. I
Yeah,
mean,
aliens.
in fact, one of our guests was Timothy. Oh my gosh, how, I forgot his last name. How could I just forget like that?
That all the time.
um, Timothy Shorts. Oh my God, I don't know why. I was mixing him up with another Tim. Timothy Shorts. He's been on Ancient Aliens and the Unexpected. Yeah, Unexplained. The Unexplained. And yeah, he's very knowledgeable about UFOs and everything. And I think your magazine at one time had Tim Shorts interviewed on there. I think.
Yeah, yes. I have to be honest, it's a little embarrassing, but we have so many people in the magazine that I can't remember. Tim Schwartz, yes. I mean, we've covered him, I'm sure, in the
Yeah,
magazine.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if he's written for us, but I'm sorry about not remembering that. But it's just, yeah, there's so many people. And I mean, I personally, that's one of my favorite things about the paranormal is UFO phenomena. And so I just feel like there's so many different explanations. Interdimensional, I think, has a lot of weight to it, in my opinion. Um, Looking at the ancient alien theories, to me, it's really compelling, a lot of the theories that they have. And so and then you get really out there and you're like, okay, well, bring in the whole matrix things. Are we living in a matrix? And could these things be coming in from an outside source into our little matrix here?
I like the idea of them being, us. It's just us, but
Yeah.
it's us from the future. I think way back in the 90s when I was in the Marine Corps, back when they did the alien autopsy, that famous thing they did on TV, that was that idea was going around that because I think Star Trek used it a few times too. But the more and more I see, species disappearing, and if you're familiar with the concept of the keystone species in environments, species that other species rely upon. And if you lose one, you lose them all. Kind of like when we lost the dodo bird in those islands. Now the trees that the dodo birds used to eat the fruit off of are slowly disappearing because the bird's no longer there to eat the fruit, digest the seed, and keep the whole cycle going. If time travel were possible, certainly it would make sense to go back and collect some of those keystone species and try to reintroduce them into an environment to restore a situation. But if you really want to examine that, is time travel even possible? Do you think, in the physical sense? I mean, philosophically, I guess you could try to reason anything into being possible, but the reality of being able to actually transport yourself through time, especially to the past, do you think that's really possible?
If, it's a hard one.
Yeah, it is a hard one. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool.
It was not a slow pitch.
Yeah. I mean, as a child, don't you often, or haven't you, like with your brother or sister, if somebody asked, do you think time travel will be invented in the future? And if you think it will, then they've come back, they're already here. But then if we say the time is, doesn't exist, it's a man-made concept, I kind of like what Tim Tactics was saying about if it's in your reality, and then of course with enough energy, you can intersect with a lot of things you probably wouldn't have. So if I look in the sky and I say I want to see blue UAPs,
Mhm.
and I've been seeing white ones for like 2 years or 3 years, whatever, and then all of a sudden blue ones come. So I said, well, can I see a purple one? I have a friend who wants to see a purple one, and the purple one comes. So I think that with the time, it's vibration. It's a lot of other things that we probably still don't understand. But um, I do feel if it's invented in the future, then they're already back here. I don't know.
I that's yeah. I mean, that makes actually a lot of sense to me because when I think about it, I think yes, it is going, if it's not here, it is going to be in the future. Because I
Even
think
a billion years, yeah. Even if it's a zillion years, but still they could come back once it got invented.
Well,
yeah.
that's the question of not only time travel, but space travel. Because you're traveling such vast distances, we're going to have to make things faster, right? And so time travel has always been, conceptually, at least according to Einstein, a matter of speed. As speed of light, what's that, 286,000 miles per second? You have to achieve that at least if you ever want to even come close to doing time travel, or if you want to try to get to the planets out there while you're still alive
Well,
without going
well,
into, cryostasis or anything like that.
yeah, and you're right about that 186,000 miles per second. But then if you think of it this way as well, if the speed of light and molecules and everything could move at that, you're talking about the speed of thought, like even prayer. I mean, you should be able to pray at the speed of light, but you just probably slow it down because you want to. But the same thing with what you said about if if you go the speed of light, you start going slower, like the satellites in the sky. I tell a lot of people, they say, "Oh, that UFO, that's a satellite, that's a satellite." Well, the thing about it, if you look at the speeds, could they have satellites going at different varying speeds? Because I know they can do it with heights, but with speeds, the faster they go, those clocks have to be, they come in slower. So if they have one clock coming in at 4 minutes slower, 1, 2, 1, 5 minutes, because they're approaching the speed of light faster than things here on Earth. So a lot of those satellites, they end up coming in like I said, 2 minutes, 3 minutes slow. So I don't think that, with 5,000 orbiting in us, they would have everything that discombobulated where everything would be on all separate times. So everything can be all satellites.
Hey, also too, you guys remember Rendlesham Forest when they were seeing the UFO flying around in the forest, the military personnel. The one guy who was an MP went up to the craft, he touched it, and in his mind, he started seeing a binary code. He started writing it down. They interpreted as the beings were saying they were from the year 8100. So there we have humans in the future coming back in a UFO.
Have you seen the videos of the time travelers that have there's at least one or two
Yeah,
guys out there that
yeah.
claim to be time travelers and they've come back and they're warning about the future.
What do you think? What do you think, Phil? What do you think of those guys? I've seen them. What do you think?
It's compelling. I think nothing that the person says isn't anything that we don't already think is going to happen. There wasn't any like great revelation. That was especially like somebody just mentioned AI just a few minutes ago. It's truly incredible what that can do now, and we're starting to use it. So it was kind of like the only thing, if I can kind of tie this together into one thought, is that when computers first came out, that's everybody was excited about the 286 and then the 386 and then the 486 and then the Pentiums, and they started to just get faster and faster and faster. Nobody even talks about that anymore. Nobody talks about how fast your
The
computer is anymore.
quickening. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but because it just it got to a certain point where that doesn't even really matter. They're all just fast enough for us to do what we need them to do. But for a while there, it seemed like every year they were doubling, tripling in speed, and it was like, was technology moving that fast? And it apparently was then. With AI, is it going to move now even faster? Are we going to see
Yeah.
breakthroughs that we never thought possible, even in Jules Verne kind of things?
Well, check this
Well,
out, Phil. They're
yeah.
talking about AI will be evolved in such a way that it'll have all the information from the internet, everything that's placed on your computer,
Taking it in now.
all that knowledge, and you will be creating your own God.
We already do that, don't we?
What the quantum computer? The quantum computer does what 8 billion people would take 30 years to do in 30 minutes. But sure, I wanted to ask you a question before I forgot about this. You know, you told me, you said that you started watching Ghost Hunters and it kind of got you inspired.
Mhm.
And I want to ask you, at what point, because it's like when guys watch Kung Fu movies, some of us, or whoever, guys or girls, they go out and watch it and then they want to actually, try it or learn or, and
Yeah.
some people want to be stars, but at some point you realize the real Kung Fu that you learn versus what you saw on the screen, it's like two different things. So there's like an intersection. I want to know for you with the paranormal, when did you find your first real intersection of, it's not what I thought it was on TV, but it really is this, like when did
Yeah.
that moment happen for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so for me, I started watching back when In Search of, my parents.
Okay.
Awesome show.
We should
when
know
I was-
Awesome
that.
show.
Oh, I couldn't miss that. Yeah.
And then, you had Sightings. Loved that show.
Love that show.
Yeah, they love that show. And then it
Bill
just
Barnes, yeah.
evolved from there. And then came Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters. And I have to tell you, I was addicted to Most Haunted like you wouldn't believe. I mean, let's be honest, they were sensational and it was exciting, okay? At least when it first started, I loved that show and I wouldn't miss it. And so these exciting shows that you see on TV and they're investigating, they're hearing things and they're seeing things and all this stuff is happening and they're catching EVP every other minute. So then when I finally was able to investigate a few times, that's when the realization hits. That's entertainment. They got to keep viewers to make some money.
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm not saying they fake everything, but I think that they do maybe
Embellish.
I hate to say misrepresent, embellish, thank you, quite a bit. So when I start investigating, it's way different. It's a very slow pace. It's a very boring at times. It can be very boring at times. And other times, you can see things, you can hear things, or you can get something on your recorder, you get a little EVP voice, and that does happen.
Yeah.
That makes it all worthwhile, but it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's not what you see on the TV usually for me. So
love those EVPs though, huh? I love them when you get the real ones. You gotta love those.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing out of audio, video. That audio is my favorite thing because let me give you an example. We were investigating here in Tennessee at Brushy Mountain Prison.
Okay.
And
You went to Brushy Mountain?
yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. I'm
Yeah.
jealous.
Maybe
I'm
5
jealous.
years ago.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it was actually maybe 2020, 2021. And there was only five of us. I had to recount. We had a private investigation there. And man, let me just start. That place is haunted. Okay.
Oh my God, I drove.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
I
Yeah, I
drove
like it.
past Brushy Mountain, but I never went there. So, did you actually go inside?
We had an overnight investigation. Yeah, the 5 of us. Yeah. It was just the 5 of us.
Hey.
It's it's amazing. And
Very nice.
we took some intriguing photos and I can't, they're not conclusive, but I think there's something. I'd be happy to share them with you at some point. But the biggest thing is the 5 of us were in the theater room where the prisoners would have a little entertainment from time to time. And it was a theater room. And so we just sat down on the floor or leaned against the stage or whatever it was, the stairs there. And we just started listening, and then we started doing EVPs. And then that's when the footsteps started and the noise started. And now the owners were there, but they were out front sitting on the stairs. They did not come in the building at any point of the investigation. Just want to make that. So
Okay.
at this point, we're like, oh, okay, we're all here in the same room. That's not us. So three of us broke off and went into the infirmary, which was just around the corner and over. And we went to the back of the infirmary and we decided to do an EVP session real quick. This is where paranormal investigation gets super exciting, is when you turn on your recorder and you ask some questions. Hi, who's here with us today? Whatever your question is. And you let it run a little bit, you're quiet, you wait, and then you turn it off, and then you replay it. And you hear yourself asking who's there, and then you hear an answer. And it's nobody who was there with you, right? It's a clear answer from somebody who is, you cannot see, you cannot hear. Now, what I want to say, so that's really exciting. I love that about paranormal investigation. And it's so intriguing. But now I want to know, what is it? Is it a spirit of a prisoner? Is it a spirit of just somebody who's wandering by? Is it some type of psychic phenomena that's happening beyond maybe a spirit level? And
Yeah,
so,
well, you know,
yeah.
to chime in with you, hold that thought, because I like what you're saying. But between you and Paul, every time I go with Paul to wherever we go, I may not get one by myself, but with him, we always seem to get one. And there's I want to I want to the phenomenon of where the voice is coming from or who or what. I was asking the same question for one reason. Well, two things. When you said about the footsteps or Paul had an investigation where there was children's footsteps, which you could clearly tell was like a little person,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was kind of intriguing. But then we were in an outdoor park area, and Paul was going for EVPs, and we heard a father and a daughter clearly, like by the pool area, playing, talking, and you could hear them almost as if like they had a microphone, and you could hear everything that was going on. But this voice that we got was like from a separate place. You could tell, and well, I mean, where I don't know, but that was the first time I thought, wow, um, because we're not inside, and like there were plenty other things that could have echoed,
Mm-hmm.
for a conversation or anything. To where this came from and the answer to the question what we asked, though, I don't know.
So, so you said something that's very intriguing. You said that usually when Paul's around, you get what, more activity, more EVPs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we get question answers. We get, we get it's yeah.
so that is funny because the story I was just telling you about, the it was me, my husband, and a friend, Jackie. Jackie's a huge psychic medium, and she
Okay.
attracts spirits like she is a spirit magnet because wherever she's at, things happen. And I think that's why the voice was recorded. Honestly, I do. I think it's because she was there. I don't think if I was
Okay.
just there or if it's just me and chat, because we've done things and we don't get anything sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
She drew whatever it was out somehow.
But Cheryl, what I do though is, and thank you, Zandine.
Sure.
I do what is called a quick and dirty EVP. So I just keep on asking, is there anyone here? I pause, give it time to talk, and then I play it back, and sometimes you'll get a voice.
Yeah.
So I just keep on doing it. It's like, is there anybody here? You hold that recorder, and then I play it back. I do it again. I keep on doing it until finally. And see, what happens is I see other investigators, and they just kind of give up. They do like 1, 2, or 3. I'm doing like 7, 10, maybe even 15 quick and dirty EVPs. Then I finally get something. So, but that Brushy Mountain Prison,
Yeah.
that's where James Earl Ray, the guy who assassinated Martin Luther King, he was actually incarcerated there, and some guy named Byron Looper who killed a politician. So yeah, that Brushy Mountain is something else.
Yeah, it was serious business there, as probably many prisons are, but it seemed like they weren't treated all that well there, unfortunately. But so Brushy Mountain, do you guys watch the show Paranormal Caught on Camera ever?
Yeah, in
Oh,
fact,
yeah, definitely.
one of my pictures
Okay.
that was submitted to me was of a full body apparition in Sedona, Arizona, and that photograph was on Paranormal Caught on Camera.
So
Yeah,
the
we
reason
have a
why,
lot of good stuff.
yeah, I love that show. I love it so much. And I know not all of it's real, okay? But I do believe that much of it is. I really do. Um, so why I bring it up is on that show, and I don't remember the season, unfortunately, but they featured Brushy Mountain and an
Okay.
investigator. Yeah, if I can't remember, shoot, I wish I could remember. Oh well, an investigator went into the kitchen area, and we've spent some time in there. And I guess he had some chairs set up. And when he went in, apparently all the chairs went in disarray, like just by
Yeah.
themselves. I
Okay.
tend to believe that was real based on my experience there. So
Okay, Cheryl,
yeah.
Have you seen the video where there was, I guess it was a Filipino couple, like like they're like in Indonesia somewhere, and he was arguing with her,
Yes.
and before he could start, something like flew at him.
Mhm.
Everything started going crazy in the room, and I don't know if it was fake, but it looked really compelling. I don't. It's like they have a few like that around where the room erupts.
Yeah.
What do you think that's about? I mean, do you really think it's that much energy?
I do. I think it's totally possible. And, like I said, I can't say 100%. I do believe that
Yeah,
particular one was real.
yeah,
Um, it's just not knowing everything. I do believe that was authentic. And I think the energy levels can get to that depending on the location, depending on
ah,
the
ah,
environment, the
okay,
people present. I think that they were arguing, if I remember correctly in the clip, and I think that
right,
energy can build up. And if there is something there, it doesn't
yeah.
necessarily have to be negative, but it could just get amplified.
Amplified. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So yeah, you saw that. Well,
So what's
another thing I noticed, and tell me if you noticed this too. Like when you have a lot of things that move, like I saw a video where the taps at the bar were pulled, but the orb that was by it had this like kind of full, thick, kind of gooey energy. And then they have like the regular orbs. You see, I've noticed that all orbs aren't equal. Some are charged and they have something to them where they can actually move, things as opposed to an apparition or what we think is a normal ghost. Have you noticed that as well?
Um, yeah, I have an orb story I can tell you, but Phil, did you want to say something first?
I want to hear your orb story.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I want
Well,
to
I
hear
do
the
believe there are
story.
legitimate spirit orbs, and they're not all dust and debris and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Um, so when oh my gosh, so my daughter was born, and she
Is
at a time I stayed in the room with her because she needed some reinforcement. And she was a baby, but it seemed like she needed somebody close by. Instead, she had her own room for a while, and we were in this room. So I went and stayed in her room, and it was just me and the little twin bed that was in the room, and she was over here in the crib.
Okay.
And I woke up one night in the middle of the night, and I look over to the crib, and above her is hovering an energy ball. And so it's not your typical little orb. It's like an energy ball like this, a big orb like this.
Okay.
An
Okay.
orb of energy. And I was just looking at it like, that's not normal. you know?
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
what's going on? And then I recollect that it knew that I was watching it, and it realized that I was watching it. And then all of a sudden it zipped over towards me. And that's all I remember. I was asleep. Don't know what happened after that. Well, that's not the end of the story. Fast
Okay.
forward a few days, a week, whatever it is, the same exact thing happens again. So at that point, I know, okay, I wasn't dreaming. I mean, I didn't think I was dreaming, right? But you never know. And the same exact thing happened again, exactly as I just said it.
Dang.
Out. I mean, I don't. It was like, and then out. I don't know what happened. Like, I wake up the next morning. So I'm like, what is this?
That,
So, and it never happened again. I'll just put it to you that way.
that's the most I've never heard that angle on the orb ever.
And it was so I don't know if it could have been a spirit energy and not a traditional orb, but I don't know what it was doing. I don't know its purpose, and I don't know why I never saw it again. I don't know if it was there for my daughter, or like a type of protection, or if it was something, maybe a relative coming to visit. I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Cheryl, what you're describing is an orb with intelligent movement.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you real fast this story. but we did an investigation where the spirit was named Emily, and she was known to drain the energy from the occupants. And we went into the house, and one of my investigators says, Paul, he goes, I need to sit down. He goes, I feel fatigued. I feel tired. I said, go ahead and sit down. I said, I wonder if Emily is draining the energy from you. So I said, Emily, if you're listening to me, I say, kiss him on the mouth. And three of us are snapping a photo, and we get an orb on his mouth.
Yeah.
I said, holy cow, that's intelligent movement. And I said, this isn't dust. This isn't skin flakes. This isn't lint. This isn't dewdrops. This is an orb with intelligent movement. And I said, okay, well, I said, Emily, if you're listening to me again, can you please sit on his lap? I snap a photo, and the orb is hovering over his lap.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, not all orbs are just lint, dust, whatever.
Yeah.
Some have intelligent movement.
So are orbs ghosts then?
Yeah. Well, you know, even like my mother, when she saw her first paranormal experience, she said that she saw an orb, and the orb manifested, it started morphing into a child ghost.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me go with the big question then. If an orb is a ghost, what is a
Some
ghost?
some
What
orbs.
happens? Wait, okay, well, some orbs, but what is a ghost then? If it, and you know, is it like we see on TV in the movies? Is it a spirit that is still wandering the earth in limbo for some reason that hasn't crossed over to the other side? Is it
That
like
depends
we
on
see
your
in
faith as well, too.
Poltergeist? You're absolutely right, Zandine. But I mean, we're talking about things that Cheryl seems to have witnessed quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's interesting about yours, Cheryl, is that you weren't even out on investigations looking for them. They just seemed to. You seem almost like you're magnetized for it type thing. And whereas Paul has been on what over a couple thousand investigations, so he's just putting himself out there, you know.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So remember the
He's
haunted
laying it all out, huh?
the haunted house I lived in that I said had some poltergeist activity? That's the location of this orb thing. That
Okay.
was at
Okay.
that house. So I don't know if that was related. It felt different though than some of the other stuff. It felt different. Um, at that house, full-bodied like I said, full-bodied apparitions were seeing the different type of poltergeist activity. One of the so I don't know, orbs, I think, or spirits are all of the above of what you said. I think that they come back to visit, that they can choose to come back. I think that they can get stuck, unfortunately. Maybe they don't realize that their physical body has died, and they're kind of reliving or visiting places that mean something to them or something like that. But I think there's many different reasons why spirits would be here, and not have moved on. But as far as going back to that house, there was one of the scariest things that happened at that house. I'm like digressing here, but it was in broad daylight. I was home alone, and just sitting watching TV in the living room, and all of a sudden I hear something pounding on the front window really hard. We had this big picture window in the living room, but I was in the family room, and I'm like, what is that? And so I'm thinking, okay, wait, truck driving by, no. Earthquake, no. I'm like trying to
Serial
rationalize
killer.
the scary
Going
thing,
through the checklist, yeah.
going through the checklist. And so it happens again, just pounding, bam, bam, bam. And so I jump up. I just can't ignore it anymore. I jump up, I run around through the back of the living room, and I just stand there looking around like, what's going on? And I just said out loud, I just felt like it. Stop it. Just stop it, like in a really loud tone. I don't know what possessed me to say that, but I said, stop it. And then I went out the front door and I sat in my car until my friend came. So,
That uncomfortable. Yeah, it made you that uncomfortable. Yeah.
it's scary. Yeah, it was broad daylight. Like it was not nighttime. And I don't know, it wasn't,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It was trying to get my attention, I think. I'm not sure. But that was scary. So sometimes when you get scared, I would just advise to try and stay calm. I don't know how calm I was really, but I did end up leaving the house. But just try and stay calm. And I think that the more upset you get, certain spirits kind of feed off that. Um, as we talked about a little bit earlier, and it kind of amplifies, I think, what's going on.
Is
So I wanted to talk, okay, I really wanted to talk about this when we were talking about it, but real quick, it's about the whole UFO alien thing that we were talking about earlier. And I just wanted to pitch it out to
Yeah.
you guys and see what you think. Um, what do you think about if the extraterrestrials, whoever they are, whatever they are coming to us and well, they say that we're abducted, people are abducted in large numbers and
experimented on.
experimentations. What if they're trying to, and I know what you hear about the whole breeding program, but what if they're more trying to figure out how, if you believe in this, how we reincarnate, and maybe they can no longer do that, and so they're trying to figure out more about us. Does that even make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. I mean, soul catchers. I mean, a lot of people are talking about when they're dying now, like they aren't able to like break certain barriers, and then you had like Very Little John was talking about soul catchers. But then when you say when you ask the question about um how did you phrase that again? Because one other aspect you might.
Able to reincarnate.
Yeah, like if you believe in reincarnation, I believe in reincarnation. So maybe whoever these entities are, some of them are coming to figure out how we are able to do some of the things that maybe they can no longer do or have never had the
Right.
ability to do.
Well, even if whether you believe in aliens or God, like there's been evidence of all kind of power or authority being given to those type of things to where, okay, say like reincarnation. I mean, like if you want to say physics, matters neither created or destroyed, changes from one form to another. So
And
I mean, who knows what who knows what that existence looks like once it's in the next state and it's not gas, solid, or liquid, but it's something else. So there's that. And
Mhm.
then like in reincarnation, there's a lot of examples of like those little kids that have a lot of knowledge of prior things. That always gets me. I don't know about you, but
Absolutely.
but if you take some of those I think, well, I don't really listen to a lot of things like that Mr. Wilcox says, but he was talking about these monks that meditated, and to get into this one monastery that was 1,000 miles away, they would have to be able to read like word for word. And if they could, they get into this one a monastery, and after they finish praying for everybody and praying for the world, they basically like leave their body to reincarnate to another life. And they'll
Mhm.
tell all the other monks, okay, I'm going to do this today. They go to this dwelling, they sit around and they pray and they watch them. And the body kind of, it shrinks after a while. I mean, I've seen that. I don't know if it's real or not,
Right.
but they talked about, like just going back and forth like nothing.
Yeah.
But another thing, what you said about time travel, I want to mention, Cheryl, do you remember when they talked about the scientists at CERN talking to each other, like one from 2019, say to one guy in 2023, like they're sending messages back and forth?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, it was scientists talking about, so the time, what happens in that realm. But back to reincarnation, yeah, I'm surprised with everything that we know about death. There's been great stories and everything, but why
Mhm.
won't they let one concrete thing come out about it? What do you think, Phil? I mean, what do you think, Cheryl? Paul?
I think nobody's come back, and I think that's why it's the great unknown, and still is the ultimate question. Is no, I mean there's a lot of people who've claimed to come back who've had near-death experiences, but unless you've experienced it yourself, you're just taking somebody else's word for their experience. It's hearsay, in other words. So, and trying to find concrete proof of something that is unprovable,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's always going to be a question, and that's why it's ultimately a matter of faith. That's just the unanswerable question there.
I have the answer to reincarnation.
Oh my
Also,
gosh.
she-
What is it?
Okay, here we go. Okay, a person dies, let's say back in the 1800s. His name's John Smith, and he's a blacksmith. Well, his energy leaves his body, is floating around in the atmosphere. It's not destroyed. All the information about John Smith is in that energy. Now, we'll take it to the year 2024. A little baby is born. And this little child, they say that children from ages 1 to 8 have psychic abilities, and after age 8, they lose it. Well, this little child has little psychic antennas. And here comes John Smith's energy, and it's downloaded or maybe uploaded into this little child. This little child begins to talk and says, I'm John Smith. I was a blacksmith back in Tucson, Arizona. He has downloaded all this information about John Smith, and he thinks he's John Smith when actually he's not. He just downloaded all the energy from the deceased John Smith. And that's what reincarnation is.
Sorry, Cheryl. Yeah, it is interesting. There's also another, and this has been done in horror movies, and there's some reality to this, and that is memory or consciousness or knowledge or skill strictly a thing of the mind, or is it of the entire flesh? And where I'm going with this is that you have, let's say like an alligator, it hatches out an egg. If it never sees its mother, it's still an alligator. It's always going to be an alligator. It's going to grow up. It's going to know how to swim. You don't have to teach it how to swim. It's going to know how to eat. You don't have to teach it how to eat. You have millions of years of evolution and knowledge that is just inherent in this being. It is what it is, and it knows how to do what it does. It doesn't have to go to alligator, preschool. It's an alligator. Different species obviously require more nurturing than that, but that's just one of the examples. But you can carry it into a human thing too. I forget whose quote it is, but I've heard it takes 3 generations to make a great musician. And there have been many cases of that, where if you look at a musician, you go look, his father played, his mother played, his grandfather played. The blacksmith analogy thing, that's where people get their names from. It's because their people have been doing that, and along their family line have been doing the same thing for years and years and years. My son, from the time he was 3 years old, was able to take apart things and put them back together. I didn't have to teach him any of that. And now he's doing it on jet airplanes. Wow. So wow. There are things that are just in us, from our bloodlines, from our family, from the first person who, on our line that started figuring things out. That knowledge is somehow passed to us, some of it without ever being taught. It's just in our flesh. It's in our being. It's part of who we are.
It's our DNA.
It absolutely is, yes.
Yeah. There was a space story. Oh, Cheryl, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Please go ahead.
You're the guest. I'd rather hear what you have to say. It's more interesting, please. I'm a blacksmith, by the way. I'm black, and my last name is Smith. I mean, no pun intended. Yeah. So, they had a story about. I was reading, it was this lady who said her son was a hybrid, and that he was allowed to come back and say hello to her. But what he did is he said, "Mom, don't worry." And she said that he walked in the street and he got hit by a truck. And she was just all distraught. She was like, and she said, but like, I don't know how long it was after that, but he came back in another body and said, "Hey, listen, I just want to show you what life is. That it's not, the cycle is not like you think it is." Now, I mean, it was just, one of these random stories. I met a person giving their testimony. But it's just the notion I heard out there, and it was interesting. But
wow. So, I mean, the whole topic of reincarnation, I mean, we could just have, hours to talk about that. But Paul, I mean, what you're proposing is very interesting, and honestly, it makes a lot of sense. Where I've traditionally thought about it is the whole, you die and then you go into the afterlife, and then you have a life between life. and then you decide what's going to happen next. And then do you want to go back to your human, physical existence, or do you want to do something else, whatever that might be? And so I'm more of the thinking at this time anyway, that's kind of like we choose in between lives what we want to do and where we want to go and who we want to be with and that kind of thing. So I believe in like the theory of soul groups, so that you can move along from life to life with different people, different ways and that kind of thing. So I'm kind of a firm believer in that. I mean, how can you prove anything? You can't, but that's just you feel it, right? And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I am really interested to look into more of the theory that you just proposed, Paul, because I haven't thought a lot about that one. So it's very interesting.
What you said about picking your own, that sounds interesting, because if you notice, a lot of the Vietnam vets, including my father, when he died, he said he died in war and came back to life, but they have that light they go to, and a lot of them say, hey, I want to go to the light, and then they say it's not time, but that thing of like, trying to make a decision, that you're onto something, I mean, you've heard more people say that than anything else about a decision to come back or see something and then relay a message when they do come back. So I don't know.
Yeah, the near-death experiences like your dad's, I mean, how many people have we heard talk about that experience? And I do think that it's not just a matter of the brain dying and it's creating hallucinations.
Yeah, people say that,
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, what do I know? But no, that's not what I think that happens. And so it's like, I do think that, at least with the near-death experiences, that some people have said, right, they don't want to come back. They love the feeling of where they're about to go, and they desperately don't want to come back, but they have to come back because they have some unfinished business that they need to take care of, and that matters, and that's why they have to come back. So it's just the thought process it's hard because you can just think about it so much, but you won't ever know until you know, and then so yeah, it's the whole life between lives thing. I've never had a past life regression. I'd love to do one day. No, has anybody here had one? Past life regression?
But I did have one strange incident. When I went to Hawaii, I went and saw the psychic. And one of my family members says, hey, go to the psychic. I said, oh, I don't believe them. And they said, oh, just do it. I go, all right. So I went to the psychic. And one of the things the psychic said, she didn't know anything about me. She goes, in your past life, I see you as a scribe. I go, wow, because I do like to write. So that was kind of interesting. It was like, okay, you don't know nothing about me, but you're saying something like that. So yeah, interesting. So maybe I was a scribe. I don't know.
Yeah, my friend, well, my good friend Karen Fraser, who we talked about a little earlier, has had several life between lives, and she has a compelling case for reincarnation. And she basically, I can't even begin to tell you about her case, but she basically, it's just, so many things match up. She was, how do I even begin? It's so tough. She used to be a person who was a reporter and a musician, and the person died in a train wreck in Wellington, Washington. And Karen had begun to investigate the site, and came to find out that she used to be a person on that train who died. And the whole story about how she found out and how her case was not proven, but compelling. So much so that the organization called, and I'm blanking on the name, but they put her case up on their organization's website as a compelling case for reincarnation. And it's just a fascinating case. She did a book about it, and it's just know, and being able to talk to her about it, it just further confirms to me that people are reincarnated in some way, or can be. And I think she found out who she used to be, literally. And it's like I can't. It's hard to even fathom, you know.
I don't
That's
What do you
interesting.
think, Phil? Phil, I mean, what do you think about reincarnation? I mean, do you believe it's actually possible? You think it's just like chemicals in the brain?
absolutely. I believe the beginning of knowledge is admitting that you know nothing. And so I'm open to everything. I do believe I've seen some cases that seem very believable, that someone has knowledge, that kids especially, or I've had feelings myself. Other people say it's deja vu or whatever, but that you've been here before, or maybe you're just familiar with something that you've never seen before, but it just feels familiar to you. I believe, things like that, there has to be a reason for it. And so I believe it's possible. But I do have a parting thought since we're getting down to the wire, and that is if there is a heaven, does it have Wi-Fi? And can I watch reruns of, In Search of with Leonard Nimoy?
Great question.
Can I ask Cheryl one last question before we go?
Go for it, Anthony.
Cheryl, like, what's your best UFO story or alien contact story?
Oh my gosh, I think I've seen a UFO. I'm not sure. It's tough because it
Tell
was.
us about it. Tell us about it.
Well, we were driving. I want to say we were driving back from Vegas, and this is when we lived in California, and we were driving back from Vegas. I think it was just me and Chad, and I was the driver, and there was a light over one of the hills, small, I say mountain, but it's more of a hill. And it was just slightly off in the distance. And Chad saw it full on. I only glimpsed it, but he was certain it was a UFO. So that's that story. I haven't seen one land and
What did it
figure it out. But
How many of us have? And
What did
live
it
to tell
look
about
like,
it.
Cheryl?
what was that?
What did it look like?
I didn't get a straight on look, but it was more of a light, a glowing thing, like a glowing ship. The one that I saw, this was a completely different time. I was just in the city, and me and my friends were it was late at night, and we were just standing on the street, like being teenagers. And off in the distance, there was a strange thing hovering. And so we looked at it and we're like, what is that? And then it just shut off like at speeds that I can't explain. That's why I think it was a UFO, because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know what else it would be. That's so I love learning about UFOs and people's experiences. Like we had Lynn Katai, I know we got to go. Lynn Katai, Dr. Lynn Katai of the Phoenix Lights. Like she was the big witness. She was like a big witness of the Phoenix Lights, and she took video and pictures. And we had her on the show a while ago, many years ago, and her story is very compelling. So that's one that really stands out to me as far as that I've read about and talked to people about the Phoenix.
You liked E.T. too. I saw on your page that you liked E.T. I loved but the Steven Spielberg movie, right?
Oh,
You went back and saw that. I saw that.
well, I like all sorts of like UFO movies, UFO shows,
Encounters.
everything. Yeah, everything.
There we go. That's
it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
My favorite UFO show is called Paul.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, you've seen a lot, bro. He never surprised me. Never ceases to amaze me. We were, Cheryl, we were talking about a UFOs, kind of like in the Bible, but like he came with a different story in Nuremberg, and I guess it was the 1700s, the 1600s, Paul, where they had some crosses that were firing at UFOs.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting story. I've never heard that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tell us, Bob.
In Nuremberg, Germany, they found this plaque that was made back in the 15th century, I believe, and it shows all these different UFOs. There was like a cross type UFO. There was a cigar shaped UFO. There was a globe type UFO, and they're all fighting in the sky. And there was thousands of witnesses in Nuremberg, Germany. And Nuremberg, Germany is one of the places I was stationed at when I was in the Army. And a lot of the German people know that story. And you can look it up on you can Google it, Nuremberg, Germany UFO incident.
Okay.
And they'll show you the plaque and everything. And there was a actual Star Wars battle in the sky.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. And the one over LA, what's it called? Lights over LA?
Yeah.
Battle
Out of LA.
Yeah,
In fact,
William
Zan goes to LA
Yeah.
all the time to do UFO hunting.
William Tompkins had the greatest story I've ever heard about that battle over LA, because he talked about all the rounds that were shot and how 100 different people all saw different amounts and different sizes and shapes of UFOs. He was with some NCO, like high school that were going into the military, and he was talking about a dance or something that people were having in
ROTC.
You're right. And they were in San Diego, and he said it went on from like 9 p.m. to like 6 in the morning. And he said that a lot of rounds were fired one way, not much the other way, but he said they failed to hit it. But he described that was one of the William Tompkins, if you get a chance. They call him Bill Tompkins, but
Okay.
yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting because I think a few people got killed on the ground from the shelling. Is that correct? Do I remember that correctly? So
I've heard that, yeah. Well, he didn't get into that, but I have heard that. I didn't hear him get into that, but I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, because like there was like 60,000 something. They were shooting from 9 p.m. to like almost 6 in the morning. So, and they didn't hit that, so it had to do something had to happen.
Right, exactly. What was it?
Yeah.
I want to know. When are we gonna have disclosure? I'm waiting.
Yeah, well, that guy I'm talking about, he was the guy that if people were arguing at the Pentagon and they say, well, is there time travel? And they go, well, no, it's not. So they call him up, and supposedly he had every known license of aviation. So he'd fly and come with what they call the black prints. And if he had it in his briefcase, then it existed. So they said.
Okay, and before we go, look up Andrew Basago.
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, from Mars.
Yes,
the vice president. He's a lawyer that ran for president, or was going to. Yeah.
We had him on our show, and I'm gonna say he was compelling. Oh, cute. He was compelling, but he wasn't straightforward with some of my. I asked him some pretty tough questions, and he kind of went around it. And I don't know why.
Because I wondered about him and the jump gates, when he talked about the jump gates and Barack Obama and this and that. But
I was the director.
Yeah,
what did you find him not forthright on?
Yeah, I want answers. Tell me the process of how you time traveled. How did you get from here to there? How did you teleport from here to there? How does it work? There was no specifics. And so I was disappointed because I really wanted to know. Maybe he couldn't tell, maybe he didn't want to tell. I don't know, but I wasn't happy with the responses.
All he ever said was the jump gate. All he ever said, he never said, but they were evidently in school supposedly studying. He had the lady from DARPA who was Obama's Barack or Barry's friend, as he called them. Mm-hmm. And he said that they were studying. So, what all were they studying?
Right. Yeah. I'm recommending people look them up because I feel like there's some interesting things there, but I was a little, I don't know if there's enough information to really say one way or the other if it really happened or not, in my opinion. I feel like.
How did you get him on the show?
How did we get him on the show?
Yeah, that's cool. That's a big
deal. I just email people and ask. I mean, that's usually either they come to me. I don't remember. Sometimes people come to me and sometimes I go to them. I don't remember, honestly, if he emailed us or we.
Cool. That's nice.
Cheryl,
I mean,
Cheryl, I actually got a hold of John Teeter II. And this wasn't the original John Teeter, but he was claiming that he was. And a bunch of people saw that I was going to interview him down in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. At this Star Trek sighting where they had Star Trek where they were filming it by these rocks. We're going to do an interview there, and they stopped it. They a bunch of people, it went viral. They attacked him, said, "You are not the real John Teeter. If you go about doing it, we're going to sue you." Blah blah
That-
blah blah. Yeah, so he contacted me and he says, "Paul, I don't want to do the interview," and that was John Teeter the second. Yeah,
Okay.
he was a fake John Teeter.
Hey, oh my gosh. And what was he trying to accomplish? Like,
He was trying to accomplish that he was the real John Teeter. Plus, he wanted to promote a movie, and
oh,
he wanted to act in it as John Teeter.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
John Teeter.
Yeah. I almost interviewed a time traveler, a fake one.
I would really love to find somebody who is both compelling and willing to try and give some specifics. So if you find somebody, let me know.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
I like George Van Tassel for you, but unfortunately he's not around. But George Van Tassel was pretty good at giving full
Really?
details on formula, everything. The Integratron, that gentleman.
I think it's not going to be anything like we think of, like, inventing a spaceship that can actually travel the speed of light. But I think if you think about, like, magnetism, it's an invisible force, but we can see it. If you take two magnets that are polar opposites and you try to get them near each other, they always push each other apart.
Mhm.
That same thing is used in electric engines, right, in order to cause them to rotate. And then you have what are those neutron accelerators that they use a similar thing to get things to actually hit, past the speed of light and way past it. So, I mean, you can even break it down to vibrations and sound. And, if you can actually, with certain cameras, you can see air move, the way we actually breathe and things like that. There are things that the human eye can't pick up, but they're still real. These forces are still real. So at a certain point, for us to be able to even come close to doing something like time travel, it may not be in a physical sense, but information could potentially be could be the first thing that breaks, the time barrier.
Well, it's funny you say that because George Van Tassel spoke of some gentleman, Art Christian, or a gentleman in Santa Monica, that they said they would take 50,000 volts and a camera with a magnet and something else on it, and they were able to catch a frequency of, if something happened, they said they could access it almost like on a tape, pause, rewind. Now I don't. It's something that was on. It's like a PBS type channel, and you probably can get a hold to it. Like
I believe it's possible because just radio, cell phones, it's invisible. We can't see it, but it's still there. It still works. It's a proven technology.
Yeah.
I believe it. There's just a matter of time, like we said, in the future, where these breakthroughs will happen. We just can't comprehend them yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they'll happen sooner rather than later. I mean, that's what I want to have happen, but
Yeah, we'd all like to live to see it.
I know I know flying cars are a thing already, but I want to be able to drive one.
Go take helicopter lessons.
Yeah.
I want the aliens to be, just start coming, just be with us, just reveal yourself. Let's get the technology, let's get everything going, let's get acclimated.
Come down, have a beer with us.
Yeah. Well, I think they're here, but they don't want us to know that they're here.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Cheryl. Truly appreciate your time and
Thank you so
all
much.
of your stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you,
I had a lot
Cheryl.
of fun. Thank you all.
Oh my God. And can you tell us how people can read the Paranormal Underground magazine? Where do they go to read it? I know where to go, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask
absolutely.
you.
You can go to paranormalunderground.net and you can sign up for the magazine for free and get a monthly PDF emailed to you. I would love to get more readers because that's why we're doing it. So please do sign up and give us your feedback too. I like hearing about what people want to read about. And if anyone who listens to this wants to email, they can email us at paranormalunderground@live.com or editor@paranormalunderground.net. And if you want to tell us any stories, any paranormal experiences you've had, we'd love to talk to you about that. Sometimes we run them in the magazine and share them with other people. If you're a paranormal investigator, um, also I would ask if you're interested in being profiled to email us. And yeah, that's about it. I just, this has been a lot of fun. I thank you so much, and hope we get to talk again.
And Cheryl, do you mind if I place the issues of Paranormal Underground Magazine on the Internet Archive so people can go there also to read it?
Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, right on. Thank you.
Gotta go to Brushing Mountain Prison.
Zandy, if I have to go to Brushing Mountain, I'm bringing you and Phil with me.
You gotta
go.
Road trip.
I've got to go back. I've been dying to go back ever since we first went, and we haven't made it back, but we're going to go back.
Hey, isn't it the Bell Witch in Tennessee?
I haven't been, believe it or not.
You got to do that. You got to do that too.
No. I've got so many things I have to do.
You better do it before you go to Arizona.
Yeah, we've got a lot to do. But when we move back to Arizona, we're planning on still touring different paranormal spots in the U.S., even on the East Coast and around everywhere. So, because there's so much out here, Gettysburg. We didn't even get to talk about Gettysburg, one of my favorite places to go. Well, it's kind of sad to say that, but it is. Go as far as spirit wise, it's amazing. So, yeah,
haunted.
Very haunted. Yeah.
Sure.
You're gonna see a UFO tonight or tomorrow for sure. Now that you talked about it, you're gonna see.
I bet. I'm hoping so. Fingers crossed.
Right.
Cheryl, you're a fantastic guest. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Cheryl.
It was a blast.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had fun.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.
Night.
Good night. Thank you, Cheryl. All right, everyone.